Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for another poetry discussion. A poetry discussion which will take place in two separate playlists here on the channel. Number one being the poetry discussion playlist. Number two being a playlist of Emily Dickinson poems. This is certainly not the first time this poem has appeared on the channel, but it is a poem from Emily Dickinson that I think is underappreciated for the one of the things that I really love about Emily Dickinson is that the great depth of her mind was able to pluck things from seemingly the ether and make them make sense. I died for beauty, but was scarce adjusted in the tomb when one who died for truth was lain in an adjoining room. Putting together these ideas of truth and beauty with the consequence of death. The brain is wider than the sky, for place them side by side, the one the other will contain with ease, and you beside. The brain is wider than the sky. What does that even mean? What could we be talking about? There are so many off the wall sort of phrases in Emily Dickinson for which you can never be prepared. I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us. Don't tell. Right? These ideas that are so out there, so wild, so hard to understand from whence that genius springs, right? But this poem today is much more understated in its core conceit. This idea of writing a letter to the world. That's something which is immediately understandable. That's something which maybe requires a leap of imagination, but it does not need you to interpret it. This is my letter to the world. That's simple enough that it becomes something immediately recognizable, even to a generation that has never written letters. But that's the last part in this poem that is maybe completely naked. The rest of this poem, though it is recognizable, though it will be able to be empathized by the likes of you and I, hopefully, we never know the true depths of these statements. This is another short poem by Emily Dickinson, in my opinion. When she is at her best is a short poem, 8 lines, or when she is telling a story with her poetry. And this is one that I think I've said a lot. Emily Dickinson probably has the best opening lines in all of literature. Emily Dickinson probably would have a good running for the opening couplets in all of poetry. I think the remainder of this poem after those first 2 lines is often forgotten, but that's where the meat of this poem lies. This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me. The simple news that nature told with tender majesty. Her message is committed to hands I cannot see. For love of her, sweet countrymen, judge tenderly of me. So here's the conceit. This is my letter to the world never wrote to me. This is my letter to the world. Though I am secluded, though I am maybe different, I am being the one to reach out. I will do this. But here's one of the funny things about that phrase. This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me. That is past tense. Never wrote. This is my letter to the world that has never written to me. That's not the phrase. That is not it. This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me. Is this another of Emily Dickinson's poems that is coming to us from beyond the grave? The simple news that nature told with tender majesty. What are we talking about there? The way the world is, the way that nature unfolds, the natural order of things. Is that what we're talking about with the simple news that nature told with tender majesty? Her message is committed to hands I cannot see. Are we talking about fate? Are we talking about just the natural mechanisms of what it means to be operating in the world? For love of her, sweet countrymen, judge tenderly of me. So here, you can pick whatever framing you want when it's your poem. You could be here talking to the national ice hockey team. You could be here talking to the President of the United States. You could be here talking to anyone you wanted, but she chose countrymen. And I'll be completely honest with you, that is a framing device that I don't know if I understand for this poem. I don't know if I do. I don't know that I can offer an interpretation that says exclusively this is an American idea. But that last couplet, for love of her, sweet countrymen, for love of nature, sweet countrymen, for love of her, sweet countrymen, judge tenderly of me. What are we doing there? For love of her, sweet countrymen, judge tenderly of me. So it seems to me that what this poem is making an argument for in lines 3, 4, 5, and 6 is a type of naturalism. The simple news that nature told with tender majesty, her message is committed to hands I cannot see. It seems to me that in those 4 lines, a stanza of its own, despite being the broken stanza, is an argument for, hey, the dogs bark, the birds fly, the horse runs. What is going to be of a nature, the nature of a dog barking, the nature of a bird flying, the nature of a horse trotting? That is what those things do. So, it seems to me this never wrote to me. It seems to me that what we're doing here is we are setting up the idea of an individual that is secluded. We are setting up the idea of an individual that the world never wrote to, and presumably this letter is singular. This is my letter to the world, singular. So neither has our speaker written to the world. Our speaker has not written to the world has not written to our speaker. They have excluded one another. I think what this poem can be is an argument that, hey, I'm an isolationist. I'm a loner. I am what I am, and I can be no more. But just because I am a loner, just because I do spend all of this time alone, just because I don't have people, I don't do human stuffs, maybe you should not judge me for that. Accept me as the loner. a very short poem from Emily Dickinson. But man, look, you've been alone. You've felt lonely. Probably at some point in your life you have been a loner. Look, if you were watching a video on the internet 10 minutes in about an Emily Dickinson poem, probably you're a little nutty anyway. We can admit it between friends, right? I'm right there with you. You know what this poem is about. You have been here. But have you been here? Have you really been in this place? This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me. For love of her, sweet countrymen, judge tenderly of me. That's Emily Dickinson, man. That's all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do on the channel, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. There's poetry on the Monday there's poetry on the Monday every Friday. There's poetry on the channel every Monday. I hope to have you back for, I don't know, more videos.